Each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail.
Improvise. Mysterious.
It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.
Hey, wouldn't it? This is the thing, like we got eBay these days, and from eBay, you can directly talk to a manufacturer in China and get a whole bunch of USB sticks for like dirt cheap, and all sorts of things. You can deal directly.
Right.
What about having the same thing, but on a sort of interplanetary scale? I'm sure it must exist.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And
Yes, it does.
There must be some kind of Google, some sort of Chromebook device that you can tap into this network with, yeah?
Well, it all comes down to the new way of exchanging energy. Dollar bills will no longer be linked to the Babylonian money curse. That means we can create infinite energy and exchange it, because an I am has a lifespan, and that lifespan has phases where it can create large volumes of information, and that it can be stored into data crystals or its own consciousness, and then that consciousness can create energy with those thought structures, much like a over unity device. And then after a while of enough power in there, much like Tesla, you can transcend dimensions and time streams, and then have access to direct manifestation technology. And once you have direct manifestation technology, economies as we know it cease to exist, because you no longer need the commodities to support the economy.
And nobody's in a state of need, because everything's in a state of abundance, and there's no sense of lack or loss, and that is what creates war and famine and disease and all these things.
Correct. And then after a while of climatizing to that, there will be a galactic market of other beings who have had extended moments of hypercreation that they're passing on to their lineage. And this is where people become highly motivated and say, hey, I want to build a vessel that does this, this, and this. I want to build a city. I want to do something that says I'm leaving a legacy with this unlimited knowledge and consciousness I have. And then they come together in groups and combine the different packages of knowledge and wisdom, and then they begin trading with other solar systems, consciousness creations.
Awesome. It's like somebody taking all of Jimi Hendrix's record collection and making all sorts of movies and stuff out of it. Yeah.
Right? Or food is another big thing, where you take the food of a world and you try to combine the best dishes and the gastro expressions in it, and then download it into a food replicator, so that other beings, when they go to eat the protein base of whatever it isn't poisonous to them, and we transmit the actual light experience through taste.
Oh, right. So I'll have an Altarian donkey burger, if that's all right by you.
Right. Or you want to try good old-fashioned human tripe.
Oh. Yeah, apparently on Planet Chicken, Jewish mother soup is big.
That's good.
It came a couple of years ago. It was Christmas time at my girlfriend's, and she had a duck. And to me, somehow, a duck is slightly more human than a chicken. And I remember, she said, and now your carbs are chicken. I said, okay, I don't really like this. I'm a bit uncomfortable. Anyway, so I'm really good at carving. I'm a good cook. So I carved it all up. And then there's a photo of me taking this. And then I had this weird kind of, Far Side kind of moment where I was, talking with, in the future, I'm talking with a representative of the duck planet. And he's looking through my Facebook photographs, and they go, oh yeah, what are you doing there? And yeah, that's Christmas. And yeah, what's that? And you have this thing. And yeah, well, hey, look at this. We got some really good presents that year. Awkward moments. Awkward space moments. 234. Oh, yeah. So I make myself laugh. Anyway, so yes, we're looking at just about every creature on this planet has a kind of evolved version. And then I'm thinking, I was talking with a friend of mine, and she's talking about becoming very empathic with everything, and I am, I'm like getting empathic with flies and stuff, and hello, and certainly with my chickens, and it's really nice because it's such a lovely thing, I open the front door and they come running up to the house because they know they're going to get some food, but the way they do it is so appealing. Little chickens, the way they sort of waddle across and they do it really fast. And it's like a little, cartoon. And, they love to, peck the food out of my hand. Yeah, I can't quite touch them yet, but they're getting into it. So,
you will become a chicken whisperer soon.
Well, here's the thing. And, alright, so, more than soon. So a few months ago, I was cleaning out the coop and there she was, and I was really grumpy with her because she wouldn't get out of the coop. And, I pulled her out and she was sort of, I pulled her out, put her on the floor, and she, jumped up and run back in the coop and sat back where she was, the way they do. And we were having this kind of, and that started saying, I'll have, I was just like having an imaginary conversation with her. And suddenly I got this real strong, connection that is like, don't treat me like this. I'm royalty. I am the creator of the egg, the holy egg. I am their blessed royalty. They're in their world. The hen is the giver, the mother of all things, and the giver of the great egg, and the source of all things. And, I was getting all this. Like, oh my God, this is a reptilian lifestyle. This is a reptilian.
No. Yeah. It was trying to transmit something to you from higher frequency. All life is sacred, and when humans oftentimes takes life in hens, as do other animal species too, even if we perceive their life as being chicken wings or drums, doesn't matter to them. Their life is the egg. Having 1 second that it's an actual egg means it's life in it. And if that life only lives 1 second, it has lived here and has gotten frequency of time and could be considered an ancestor for future generations.
And here's the thing that I've also noticed is that the moment you pay individual attention to one individual creature, that creature becomes individuated, and so that's how evolution starts, isn't it, Andrew?
They have a herd mentality.
Yes, most of the time. But when you pay attention to one of them, they then start getting a kind of that next level of consciousness.
They do, because that is the herd mentality trying to improve itself as a consciousness that's creating powerful eggs with souls in it that might be used for something. Even if the soul is only in the egg for a week and then gets transferred into a human body a week later. There is always this life and death process going on, and anything that is seed laying or egg laying is a part of the potential of what is born and dies every day. There's an equal balance. Whatever is, brought in, something equal comes out. And there is migration patterns in those who have, their passport to come in now and a visa to come in now, and those that don't. And those that don't can live in eggs to learn what it's actually like here in our physical space.
So,
they learn from you, and when they take on the consciousness imprint, it is affecting the whole frequency of all future life that's going to be in potential sharing space with them.
So there becomes the potential for a higher dimensional, a higher consciousness chicken, at least.
Correct.
And perhaps one that is a little less, and the thing that you notice about chickens, the first thing is this thing that they call the pecking order, the hierarchy and all of that. And I see how they suffer, and they make each other suffer, to keep the whole pecking order in order. It's only been 2 years now. It's just kind of settled down, and they all know where they are now. It's taken a long time.
And then after a while, you'll have the great mother hen, which will, emanate the goddess energy, and then she'll pass it on to another and pass on.
That's right. And one day, one day in the future, this creature will evolve onto a planet where it will eventually develop space and time travel and come back and visit us and say,
or it is already doing that.
That's right. And
the only way it couldn't change our time is if it was a chicken. It took on a pecking order. But all it needed to do was perceive us through that to understand who we were. How we treat our animals is very reflective of where our species is at right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, talk about that, Andrew.
Well, you look at, our food industry, it's, hasn't had any major reforms since the 70s. And those major reforms were corrupted as hell. At the time, the mafia owned most of the beef industry. Now it's a corporate mafia that owns the beef industry and the FDA and the World Drug Administrations, et cetera, hormones, all of that other stuff. So the animals are treated foully. They are no really natural, a cow isn't a cow. It doesn't know how to be a baby cow. It's put into a pen right away and separated and doesn't have any of its natural instincts to come through. The individual beings that are in the cow know this, and they're still here to live a purpose. It isn't about the lifestyle. It's about them being in, but we as how we treat them. Are they consciousness? We don't see a cow as consciousness. We don't see a fish as consciousness. We don't see a fruit tree as consciousness or a head of lettuce as consciousness. It is. It's a matter of how evolved is it? Is that consciousness part of the background of the planet that's offering its consciousness as abundant manifestation for us to consume?
That's very interesting. It's odd that you say that, we don't see cows. I actually do, on a real-time level, interact with cows in the next field who are, they're bullets.
Same here.
Yeah.
Same here.
And it really does bring it home. And I feel less inclined to have steak or anything like that. And it just feels so heavy. It feels like, just even like thinking about having some, it's like, no, maybe not.
Have you ever had Kobe beef or some of the other high-end massaged beef? Those are happy cows.
Happy
cows.
Oh, yeah,
they massage sake into it every day for 15 years, and then they sell it for like $550 a pound.
All right. Okay. Thanks. Good idea. But I do have friends. I do have friends who keep sheep and pigs and stuff. And when they do the slaughtering, they share it out, and I often get some of that. And I do like, it doesn't matter what creature it is, as long as it's kept happy. It's good to, and it's good to honor. And I say thank you to every fish that I eat, and recognize it as a swimming, living creature at some point, and its poor little things frozen, and love you, thank you. And it's important to honor all the food that you eat, and to realize where it comes from, and who processes it, and the hands that it passes through, and bless all those all the way back as well.
And then understand when that animal does die, it has a life review, and in that life review, it gets to experience everything that's brought it to market up until the point that we eat it. It's in our intestinal tract and it goes out. And what it's able to do in its life review is to see why we ate the food, what fuel it gave us, greater levels of consciousness it gave us, so that when it finishes its life review, it can take all of that cumulative data of being eaten and going to the commodities market, so that it can figure out what kind of soul frequency it wants to be. Is it ready to advance to the next layer of consciousness that has to live in a world that does that with other consciousness?
Holy cow. Indeed.
Literally, holy cow.
Yeah. And
Okay, we'll take another call here. Area code 612. Could we have your name and your question, please?
Hello?
Hello. Welcome.
Oh, sorry. I never get the luck to connect to anyone on anything.
Today's it, so go for it.
Yeah, okay. I had an odd question. Is there any link in the Akashic Records of someone very much connected to Mother Gaia that mysteriously turned evil and got split up?
Hundreds of them.
Hundreds.
You're referring to the Lilith thing? The vast majority of the sacred feminine stories that show a sacred feminine going into destruction are stories that were imported here to change the experience by fooling people into having those experiences on their own. There was a massive need to get the powerful sacred feminine women of this world to be gullible enough to give themselves bad experiences for extended periods of time. So they installed sex slavery industry, they installed prostitution, they put in everything that could take away from the sacred family. They conquered the family, conquered the man, everything. So that the women would go and have those experiences on their own and would not be bonding with the Earth Mother and going through the menstrual cycle in communion with their own so that they can resolve spiritual issues, healing issues, psychic defense or warfare issues. Earth provided everything for them through the sacred feminine connection through their womb gate. So there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them that are like that.
Oh.
And it's because they imported these stories here to make us believe that.
Well, I have an odd situation, which I kind of have secrets I can't say over the air because of safety. But my husband had something like that happen to him. And then he had a link to the 14 and some odd, and between him and you, I had odd synchronicities in reference to the control rooms and the fact that I told him that there was 14, but he was able to figure out that there was 14 and some odd.
There's 40 control rooms, actually.
Well, it was two different things, but I had some odd synchronicities between what you said and what he said, and I guess one day if we were alone, I'd elaborate, but I really can't on the air. So
I understand where you're coming from. You're not the first person that has called. See, for protecting you, I'll limit what I say. Just go back and listen to this in the future at some time. There's 40 control rooms.
Yeah. Well,
Each control room has. Let me finish. Each control room connects to another layer reality of Earth, and there are 1,832 layers to Earth. Each layer has a different set of number of control rooms. For Earth to be in unity consciousness, all the different layer control rooms that are functioning with the human-specific DNA and graduating timeline need to be in the unison unlocking phase. So it's many layers. So what you're experiencing is putting together the puzzle for the layer of reality that you're functioning on multidimensionally.
Yeah. Well, my husband has the ability to create things with energy, but it only stays as energy. The only reason I had a synchronicity there was because I was telling him what you were saying about Mother Gaia, and he said, well, that's odd because if I create, I stop at X amount of control rooms because then it becomes its own life.
Okay.
Yeah. It was an odd synchronicity, to say the least.
Again, that's not the first person that has told me that. Honestly, you're living on a land that is working with ancestors that you haven't functioned with and he hasn't functioned with in many, many millions of years. So there's a tremendous amount of spiritual energy in the land that you're on connected to ancestors who are desperately in need of leaders to step forward on that land and to be creators. Because it is like a steam engine about to load on the land, and every time he goes through a creational process, he lets off the steam valve. And there's this pressure release of creation and creators and experiencers is vitally necessary. Vitally necessary.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
I did have one other one, but it's obnoxiously short. I have myself problems dealing with love and forgiveness. And at this point, I'm not even at the age of 30. And I have lost every blood relative I'm close to. I lost my grandmother this year. And I am kind of looking into getting certain sets of stones to help me. And I tried rose quartz, but it didn't quite do the trick. Amethyst isn't quite right. There is a stone out there that I feel like helps more for forgiveness than love, but I can't quite pinpoint it.
Forgiveness, compassion, and love are the hardest lessons in the fear processing, limitation processing, and expectation processing of reality control to one to go through. Compassion comes from the heart. It doesn't come from a stone. Forgiveness comes from the soul. It doesn't come from something acting as a medium for that. So you're the one that has to begin it. The stones just share their experience with you. What they do is add their energy to the experience, and their energy is, we encourage you because we have confidence and faith and trust and love in you from the Earth Mother, so it's a connection to the Earth Mother so that you're having roots into the Earth sentience so you can go through the healing process. Getting at to the root of why you have tough time with forgiveness, compassion, and love is about understanding who you were as a baby. Like, were you delivered as a C-section?
I have no idea. I have no relationship with my mother. I have a rather long, short, and tragic life in some aspects. But specifically for me, I have a hard time forgiving myself.
Correct.
I've had many a messed up situation in my life. I can't forgive myself because it's not even my fault, but I introduced my grandmother to this lawyer, and turns out this lawyer was preventing me from coming down to take care of her. And so I actually am physically punishing myself by eating bad and by nitpicking on my hands. I physically, last week, have realized that I'm actually punishing myself. And it's kind of annoying.
You are gnawing on the energy of someone else. It's like beef jerky of this person's energy, and you're just chewing on it, right?
I don't know.
Well,
See,
no, it is.
My grandmother...
I can hear it in your voice. I can hear the betrayal and pain and everything in your voice. And when I look at your specific energy field, I ask myself two questions. When is the last time you looked at yourself as an energy body? And two, do you have the skills to see that?
I can't see. I was given the gift of sight, but I returned it because it was quite very scary many years ago. But
and there's your
at the same time,
there's your answer. If you had those skills, that person wouldn't be in that situation that you put them in. That's the root of your issue. How do you return it to yourself through compassion, forgiveness, and love, and that the experience is compassion and forgiveness and love and not torture? It's a vision quest for you, literally a quest for vision, clarity, illumination, understanding. So my advice for you is pilgrimage to a place of power. Do you have any extra money? Do you have a power
Not
place
right now.
close to you?
At some point next year is a big year for me. When they close off the estates, I'm going to be doing a fair amount of travel. But at the same time, I'm going back to California because that's where I was born. And I returned back there last year, and it's just so much different than Minnesota. But at the same time, SoCal, Southern California.
Okay.
I've never been to Northern Cali. I might make a trip to Mount Shasta, see how that feels like. But at the same time, I am for sure going back to Southern California, and I For me, I want to go back to Venice Beach. There's always been something about Venice Beach I love. The different energies, the people, the everything about Venice Beach. There's always something special about that place for me. And
yeah, and that's where I'm at right now. Ironically, that's where I'm at right now, Venice Beach.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an awesome place to be. And being in Minnesota,
it is.
With the land of
it is.
Yeah.
There are a number of very high energy portals here in Venice that make this area very interesting, and it has a unique collection of individuals.
Yes.
Creating
very
individuals,
so.
Creators. Yeah. I actually have a little bit of advice for you. I don't normally want to make this show an advice show because this is about galactic history. Though I may end up rebooting a reading show. I've been tremendously busy trying to get all these products and all these other radio shows done. My advice for you is you need to start a purging process, a spiritual one and a physical one. How you go about doing that is going to be your personal choice. But my advice is to do the easiest way. Don't do the hardest way every time. It requires to fast. So instead of doing a full 7 day fast, you're going to go to a local area and you're going to get a colonic. And you're going to make sure that you go multiple times so they get you up to 2 gallons or 1.5 gallons of water. So they clear your entire colon out. And then you're going to go and do a fast. A juice fast is fine. 3 days is fine. But during that fast is where you have to figure out in meditative expression how to begin to let go of other people's energy fields. It's you're sharing energetic underwear with them right now.
I can see how that is.
Okay, and we are a telepathic species, and you have the telepathic gene inside you, and it has been active for many years. You're just not the presence awareness to see how it goes 100% active. There's habit patterns in you that are subtle energy things that go on, where every day you'll build up to a point where telepathy will turn on, but the I am presence you doesn't know this internal clock, and it just turns on during the experiences you are not expecting it to turn on to. And then you just absorb who they are and bring it inside you, and your body has nowhere to store it, so it goes inside your intestinal tract. And then it stores in the mucus layers there, and that's where your dreaming body is stored. So your dreaming body gets clogged with this energy and gives you very strange dreams as you're trying to resolve other people's energy.
I have very strange dreams. My most common one is, the oddest one is I am in school and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to, or space dreams, in which the oddest one didn't make sense until you said something earlier this year where I was on this planet and it was moving around and it was larger and it was moving different places.
And it is. This planet actually can be in many places at once, instantaneously, and that's its actual original purpose. So again, start doing a colon fast and figure out how you can sense your telepathic energies turning on. And that's the first part of your vision quest. And the second part is go to a place of power and repeat what you just learned. Can you figure it out when your internal spiritual timing turns on your telepathic skill 100%?
Well, I'll have to absorb some of this. It'll take time.
Yeah. And I'm going to give you one more piece of advice. Don't wait till next year to do this. This would be like a equivalent of a person who has a best-selling book about the transitioning and awakening of our world, and it's not written until after the transitioning and the awakening of the world. Okay? You want to do it before the transition and before the awakening. And Faraday's Thanksgiving to Christmas is going to be Three Stooges-esque. There'll be a lot of comedy.
This next year is going to be crazy busy with a lot of news. I can feel it in the air.
Yeah, that's why you want to do it this year, the purging this year. So next year's a whole new experience, free of all the weight.
Well, I'll have to process some of this, but usually that takes a few weeks for me. At least to how I feel about something.
There you go. It's
thank you.
nothing more than purging your gut, and you can do that at home. You can take a laxative and sit down both for 6 hours, and it'll be done. And I hate to be as vernacular as that, but it's important that action comes.
It's fine. I took massage school and everything, and I ended up getting kicked out. Well, I wouldn't say kicked out of it. I kicked myself out of it because I developed fibromyalgia, and I was under too much stress.
Because you were absorbing the energies of others, and you didn't have the coping skills to get the energies off of you. Yes, and that's why I'm saying action for you is how you clear your fibromyalgia, how you clear your energy field, so you can be aware of the subtle energies that are working on you, and then develop skills that... Yeah.
I did this really closely once before everything happened with Nana, but I am going to get back into it. Ultimately, what I did was I stopped eating meat because energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transferred. So all our produce, all of our chicken, all of our beef is treated badly, which means it would have a negative charge to it. So when you eat it, it basically lowers your vibrational settings. And started just eating produce.
You can buy regular beef, and I've had many vegetarian people tell me the same experience, that an animal that dies horribly, it's reflected in the meat, and I agree with it. I've seen the difference between animals that are properly slaughtered, and yes, it does cost more expensive. And you can still eat meat, and you're going to have a very, very tough time being a vegetarian.
I will.
I'm going to give you that.
I know
Start
I will.
eating cheese or fish. Don't torture yourself.
I will for a little while. I know myself, but I won't let it go on for too long. It's all right. I'll let you go.
Don't let the flogging whips make you bloody.
Okay.
Thank
you very much.
All right.
Thank you very much for that. And best of luck with that. Thank you.
Yes, thanks.
Martinez, California. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, your name?
Robert.
Hi, Robert. How you doing today?
Good, Andrew. I spoke with you last week, and I was being respectful, not calling in within 30 days, but you mentioned you had no callers, so hopefully I'm not disrespecting.
That's fine. So what do you want to talk about?
Okay, Andrew, I haven't been eating meat for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I've probably had a handful of meat in the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned protein. And I've been on that journey to get more protein. And I've been questioning myself, should I start eating meat again?
Okay. It's all about protein.
What kind of meat?
So it's not necessarily about meat. What protein substitutes have you used?
Eggs.
That's nowhere near. It's nowhere near the amount of protein you need. It's like 7 grams of protein, and you probably are only processing 1 gram of each egg right now because you haven't eaten so much meat. Okay. So there is a protein powder out there called Sun Warrior Blend, okay? And it's 20 grams of all natural vegan protein in it in every scoop.
Awesome.
So that is one way. My advice for you is to get 40 grams of protein every day for 20 to 30 days, and then decide if you want to go into meat. If you are going to go into meat because it's a choice, that there's something in the process of consuming meat that does have a spiritual fulfillment to you, okay? Try fish one day. You know, just set aside. Thursdays is I'm allowing myself to be a no shame, blame, guilt of my process. I'm going to have fish, okay? Or the next Thursday, you're going to have prime rib, the perfect prime rib, one you've been slightly consciously drooling about in the background. or a crab or something else that you want to have, you want to enjoy, that you may want to have friends and family with who get to see you eat meat for a little bit, joke with them, play with them, truly enjoy the meal, and the meal's not a chore. And I think this is why you finding yourself challenged, that the meal is now a chore.
Correct. I do.
And it can't be a chore. It's got to have our love, joy, and prayer behind it. So we want to eat it and process it and do something with it. That is why so many people in the vegetarian area fail. Not because of the food, because it became a chore. There wasn't joy behind it. It's got to have the joy. So what does it really take for you to get joy behind your food again?
For me, not having it be a chore, just to love my body and want to nourish my body and take that grand leap of dedication to my body.
Okay. So what has been your specialty while you have been not eating meat? What types of foods have you been making for yourself?
Well, the thing is I have recently moved back with my mother, and being on my own, I've was buying a lot of Earthship products and powder, maca, their rice protein, and making banana shakes, banana peanut butter, cacao, maca, rice protein. I was making some awesome shakes, and I was just loving myself. And now that I'm back at my mother's, I guess I'm not loving myself. I slid backwards. I'm eating her foods, processed foods in nature. I don't feel comfortable for some reason to bust out my blender and all my bags and mess up her kitchen. So I've taken a back seat, but I do know a bunch of great recipes for myself.
Why don't you find a way? Why don't you find a way that you can cook with your mother? You're there, and then just be brutally authentic, honest with her. Mom, I love your cooking, but let's try using different ingredients. There is alchemy within cooking that you well know in your shakes. There has got to be something that you can create that is in the organic process that you and your mother can have a fun experience on, that can become part of your regular process. Your creation between the two of you.
Okay.
Okay. There are some incredible chef alchemists out there. Maybe starting to find one of those as an alchemical chef teacher. Maybe go to a chef class together. They're everywhere, all over the country.
Okay. Great. I'm going to take your advice on that powder. Can you elaborate on my career and how I do get reprimanded by spirit when I talk too much? Because I've been told through my dreams just to be quiet and just listen right now at this moment in time and not express and share my spiritual experiences, being that people aren't aware or they won't accept or they're not ready.
That is your own inner guidance telling you that you can't succeed right now. Because there is something wrong in your soup of creation. What's in your soup that's not supposed to be there? Is it too much salt? Somebody put some Tabasco sauce in there, it's too spicy to eat? You got to begin the disentangling process of what others think and project to what is your authentic truth you believe in. Think of it as two sides of a Ziploc bag. We are not the metaphor of the Ziploc coming together. There are still two sides to the bag. And when you undo the bag, separate the bag and cut all the sides off. It's two separate sides of the bag. And what you essentially got to do is peel off one side of the bag and realize that that is what was added to you by the projections of others.
Okay.
Separating that. Doing a form of sacred separation. And this involves telling your story to the fire, telling your story to the wind. Who I was when I was 9, 10, 12, 31. The goal is to get the synopsis of your whole life story with as much authentic, colored truth of who you are and what you are out there as an out loud, name it to claim it frequency, so that you can begin to truly separate what is others' impressions that will limit you from saying what you know versus your own limitations that are afraid of what others will think. In 2012, I was faced with that. I was given the word by Spirit to go public fast now. Here is the set of things that you should cover as a topic and synopsis. And it sat there looking at its watch, waiting for me. Until finally I said yes. On October 31st, 2012, I had my first show. By November 7th, 2012, I had 3 radio shows. Not just radio shows, as radio shows on radio networks. That's how fast it went for me. Interviews everywhere. And by the end of 2013, I didn't want to do those radio shows because they had become my limitation then. And this is where I wanted to fully self-produce. By 2012, December 21st, 2012, I led in a 22 network marathon that was titled Nothing is Going to Happen Tomorrow. Think about that date, December 21st, 2012, when every teacher and guru of the world of science and mythology was saying the aliens are coming, you're going to be successful, domination, control, the cabal, it's all done. Not one of those motherfuckers were right. Okay? Not one. Do any of us go back to 2012 and see what's still on their blogs, calling what was fear bullshit? I made something that was called Nothing's Gonna Happen Tomorrow 2012, 2013, and 2014, and continue to say nothing will happen tomorrow, the next year after that, the next year after that, and the next year after that, until you make it happen in yourself. By separating from this fraud time, which is truly the distraction, but still being in this fraud time, discovering the beauty of soul families that are interacting around us, who are trying to do the same thing, so we come together as a collective of like-minded people, sharing the common moral code of do no harm to any sentient kind.
Right. And that was one of the reasons why I stopped eating meat. But
and it's okay to change your belief. It's okay. Right now, you know your body's in survival mode and you don't like it.
Right.
You don't like it. Change it. If that means eating beef, don't beat yourself up about it. Be selective so it's not, 100% fat-free beef, because that's the worst. That's what they sell at the Safeways and the Krogers and all that. 90% fat reduced. No, you need fat. That's how we convert the beef to our processes. If, for example, elk has so little fat on it, you could eat elk every day and actually die of starvation. Did you know that?
No.
The natives know this. The people that lived off the land knew this. That if you do not have fat in the meat, that the animal is not cultured and treated properly, you will actually starve. You could eat pounds of it every day and still die of starvation. Yeah, take that into your crow and smoke it, people out there that have issues. Okay?
Okay.
I get so many people that are charged about the veganism argument, or the animal pelt argument. I wear a vest. And man, I don't know what's worse. The zealots about the vest or the zealots about that I said anyone should eat a single ounce of meat. And my team gets accosted by the emails, the messages. Oh my God, Andrew's wearing fur. Oh my God, he told someone to eat meat. No, I said to use your discernment in what's right for you to get out of the survival mode so you can fully think for yourself and not allow zealots and martyrs to run your life.
Yes. Okay.
Choose, choose, choose. Choose, choose, choose. Choose, 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 choose.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for the clarification. Can you elaborate on my career?
What are you doing for a job now?
Tile.
Right.
Tile installation, tile repair, over 20 years. Left the union to be self-employed. Been self-employed for 15 years. Between 12.
You're tired
15.
of pitching your own jobs, aren't you?
Yes.
I think you're at a point where you got to hire a medium, somebody that can go and get the jobs for you, like a general contractor that you have a level of trust for. Maybe temporarily coming in as a subcontractor to someone else so that you don't have to do everything for a short period of time. So you could give yourself, some more time to yourself so that you could decide if you want to stay in that industry or you want to convert into something else. Now,
yes, I'm at conversion. I've done everything that you just said.
All right, so
and now I'm back on my own.
So I did construction for the longest time, and when I became a healer, learning Reiki, cranial sacral, and a bunch of other stuff, I treated a lot of the construction workers that I knew, and it was a very easy transition to me. It's a matter of valuing yourself correctly so you get the right amount of clients versus students versus patients. So my recommendation for you is to understand that you have just done 16 plus years of hands-on construction work that has had to learn how to snap tile lines, that has had to know how to make perfect squares or herringbone lines, because if your grout lines are off, you got to redo the shit, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You got to wipe off all the schmoo that comes on the top because they wanted a sanded grout with huge-ass grout lines. You have all of those skills that go in it. Guess what? Each and every one of those skill sets you learned about setting tile is just like peeling layers of armor off of a human being that's wounded and that needs to have their armor off. I see you as the potential of a very powerful healer because embedded into your hands is a mind-eye-heart connection for what the job is supposed to look like. Not through expectation, but through knowingness. Choose a healing class that you can put some time, effort, and energy into. There are all sorts. My first advice is to find something that's like a 6-week trainable class where maybe you can make up enough money to have 6 weeks where you're not working, where you might go and take a shiatsu point release class. Or go and learn level 1 or 2 of cranial sacral therapy. That does require studying of anatomy and physiology. Maybe discovering if there's a local college around you that does a 2-year or 3-year degree on traditional Chinese medicine. Reiki, quantum healing, quantum touch. Get as many modalities as you can until such a time you're saying, I'm no longer going to put my knee pads on and lay another frickin' piece of tile. I've had enough grout lines in my life. I've had enough, stuff fall off the ceiling and hit me in the head. And you're done. And you move on. And you transition your job. Just as if you had to do for 16 years, 20 job sites a year. No different. Each client's a new job site. That's why you're uniquely prepared already, as opposed to the yoga mom with 4 kids that wants to become a healer and has never had to change her sites daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. How many job sites have you been on in 15 years? 500? 1,000?
At least.
Okay. That makes you so much more experientially prepared than others.
Okay. I'm following you.
Okay. Can you invest in yourself?
Right, and I believe that's why I'm back at my mom's house.
Sure. Because you need your mom's support as well as approval.
No, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Because I just had this conversation with a friend of mine, how I've been desiring intimacy with my mother, and I'm just not receiving no intimacy. My communication is very low, and no intimacy ever since for as long as I can remember. I never had really intimacy with my mother.
Well, try. Start with cooking.
Okay.
She cooked you 3 meals a day for your first 12 years? Cook for her. Be surprised what it'll do. Cook for her, seriously.
Yeah.
Make it a point.
Okay. It sounds. I'm like processing this, and it feels difficult.
Because right now it's a chore.
It feels like it.
Right.
And it shouldn't be.
Right. In construction terms, it's the big pile of trash that none of the laborers have cleaned up yet. And that's when a GC hires a laborer to clean up the big pile of trash that should have been cleaned up already. And you do that, you make that association. What's the pile of trash? Our inability to talk. How are you going to clean it up? I'm going to hire a laborer, which is myself, to make dinner. Okay? And what happens when that big pile of trash is cleaned up with all the construction guys? They're like, all right, everyone, clean up your own shit.
Right.
Okay?
I like it.
All right, brother, I must move on to the webcast. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Love you.
Love you too.
Well, should we take our first caller?
I think so.
And our first caller is Abrea. Are you there?
Yes. Hey.
How you doing? Where are you calling from today?
I am calling from Washington, D.C.
Well, great. Welcome to the show. How long you been listening for?
Since found you through N5D. And it was one of those just, I would like to say, like, it felt like a very underground, like, early recording with I remember you speaking about the galactic central suns. There's like two other neighboring galactic central suns, or three neighboring ones, and I've been able to like synthesize a lot of that information and make some writings and from those early days, and really just see like the fraudness of this linear experience. And
Awesome. So what kind of questions do you want to ask?
I have a lot of questions, actually. Here, let me pull up my list that I made.
Oh, he has a list.
He's organized. There's a list.
He is organized.
Actually, Wesley, he was at the event. I was at the event as well. He told me, just to get ready. And I was just thinking, like, there's a lot of things that I wanted to talk about. And, but I also wanted to ask about equal co-creation.
Okay.
And working with the trees, because I feel like I tend to give my power away to, like, just things that have helped me greatly, teachers, mentors, basically what I wanted to ask was, how do I, get into equal co-creation as opposed to, giving my power away and then feeling like imbalanced at the end of it, Okay.
That's a really, really good question, and something a lot of people struggle with is these two words, equal co-creation. So in your basic definition, what does it mean to you?
It means that, basic definition, you have something to offer, I have something to offer, and we find a way to make it benefit the whole, or benefit us each other equally, if not the whole.
So here's a little bit of an expansion. Equal co-creation doesn't always have an agenda. It has results. Results and agendas are two different things. And our expectations is what always will cloud equal co-creation. Equal co-creation is an application of the innocence of the inner child. Children at play are an equal co-creation. Sometimes it's one child leading the little story and everyone else following it, but that's still equal co-creation.
Right.
Okay? Equal co-creation also functions when you are using other singularity words to modify the word equal co-creation, healing. That means two people are going to equally heal. One may exchange energy so one can heal, another will exchange energy so another can heal, but is not on this linear timeline. Equal co-creation doesn't follow linear results, linear rules, linear expressions. So when you have two people who are married and they use the word, well, we're going to go into some form of equal co-creation, that means there's an upload and download of your problems, issues, stuff that's going around you. And whenever you feel you're not in equality, you come together to retain equality in each of you. Thus why you keep giving your power away.
Because of the linear illusion.
And the expectations that come with each moment to moment of creation. So equal co-creation is the signification of no time, no linear time, and that our creation and co-creation together is an equality of energy exchange.
I still feel like I'm in linear time in a lot of ways, but
and you are.
That's
and
what
let me finish. You won't be out of linear time until you start living in two times at once. Okay? I did that between 9 and 16, where I was challenged to live in two places at once. Challenged by my own need to accept my own skill and my own frequency and my own power, meaning there was no duality and no separation. So my dream world and my physical world could simultaneously exist in equal co-creation and non-competition. This is why you keep, as you were saying, giving your power away. You were raised on competition. Everyone in this world is. You can't help it. Okay? When you start using equal co-creation in combination with non-competition, you'll understand why we give our power away to those that can win the race.
It's like this momentous feeling of giving my power away sometimes. Like sometimes there's like a lot of energy behind it. But you know what really helps me is I can just take that to a tree. And the tree just gives it right back, you know?
Right. And that's why when I did those meditations, so you can understand there's a way that men give and receive power, and there's a way that women do it. Okay? Two different expressions, and both men and women need to learn both processes. Okay? So
I was doing the advanced heart. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was doing the advanced heart yesterday, and I had a friend, a fellow alchemist, and he works with Kangen water. And it was very synchronistic because I like to work with water alchemy. I have an ozone generator. And Kangen, are you familiar with Kangen water?
Yes, I am.
And he's from California, and people from California are like the West Coast in general tend to have like pure water. Everything's like, you know, from the foundation up, you know, there's no like property or like piece that's unaccounted for.
Right.
And and I was just and we're pretty much at a phase where we have a lot of information, been putting out a lot of information. And so we just released a YouTube video yesterday, and you can just check it out. It's just my name, Abra Habrahanu, at YouTube. And and it's really just, that's really what I'm passionate about, is just essentially putting out nutrition. And we were talking about like the healing space, and how basically I would rather go see him than go to a medical doctor. And then I was just feeling like more compassion, like the medical doctors are actually going to have to come see us too, you know?
Actually it's going to have to be a synthesis, because there are situations where faith will not heal. The American Indians learned that about the smallpox. Okay, people learn this about cancer every day, AIDS every day, and drugs are not bad. And that is the healer industry using propaganda to their disadvantage. Okay? Example, if you're in pain, you take an aspirin. So many people want to use Annika. Annika doesn't do anything for pain. It just does for bruising. Okay? So if you are an experienced alchemist and you are able to self-medicate, that's great. But at some time, there always will come an expression when you are out of your league. And I mean out of your league.
And I will have to ask you. I did want you to scan me health wise, and if there's anything going on in my gut, and if there's anything going on with me, because at the same time, like how you said, it's hard to observe yourself in some situations, and I'm just at the point where I'm beginning to consider.
In some scenarios, it's impossible for people to observe themselves because they've reached a point where so much of their reality has been what I call redacted, meaning they live in some form of denial, and that many of their choice points are based on not the facts of reality. Like there are people who live in vanity or ego maybe 30% of their life, but that 30% actually is the biggest choice points of their life. So when they end up with cancer or AIDS or anything else later in the life, everything they were in denial about comes up. And as soon as death is on the line, all that other stuff comes up. This is why the two medicines have to synthesize together. Okay? And that's for all the other healers out there that think you can tell someone, with whatever it is they have, if they're in pain, they're in pain. You cannot let chronic pain go. But when it comes to you individually, there's a variety of things that are going on here. Did you travel out of the United States recently?
Yes.
I
was in Eritrea, Eritrea, right on the Red Sea, north of Ethiopia.
And you're drinking the water there?
Not from the bottled water, yeah.
Well, I think you have some form of parasite in your gut, actually. Have you been doing some form of vegetarian diet that's really not working?
Yes.
How long have you been doing it now for?
I went 2 years.
So
vegan.
So,
yeah.
And what kind of gut issues are you having now?
Honestly, I've been diagnosed with chlamydia. I didn't know I had it. 2013. I know who it's from, and I just didn't think that I had it. Mm-hmm. And then as I went there to that country, I decided to actually take, like how you said earlier, I had to synthesize. I had to get whatever. I had to medicate with whatever they would give me. Those whatever pill they give for the clap, and I decided to do that while I was out there.
And you got bad drugs.
Yeah.
So you need to go see a doctor and go on a heavy dose of the specialized antibiotics for that. And also understand that when you got bad medicine over there, bad water over there, it was a disaster for your body and your spirit. Because right now, I would say at least 40% of the available energy you've had from the last 2 years is completely gone to feed something else inside you.
Right. That's why I'm not in worse condition.
Right.
I see.
So I want to bring Kathy in here and talk about what she also sees in the medical perspective too, and for your motivation.
Hi. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Is it
Abraha?
Abraha. All right. Excuse me,
it's okay.
I really have to say I 100% agree with what Andrew says, because to me that's the first thing I saw too. And I also am thinking it's somewhere overseas that this has been picked up. To me, it doesn't matter if you thought that you were only drinking bottled water. There are 10,000 other ways that water gets into your mouth that you don't even realize. So, these things happen when you're in countries like that. It's impossible to be a vacuum.
Right. There is no running water, Kathy. There is no running water and no lights. This nation is almost completely free. The only problem is that they have to militarize everyone so that they can pretty much block out the third world countries. They didn't accept aid. So, I felt really good going over there, and I felt really good, but at the same time, I knew there was going to be, some form of,
I mean, these things happen. Let's not even worry about that anymore. I think that definitely you should go and get this checked out. Get some antibiotics. I do definitely agree with that. I think a lot of the natural possibilities that I might consider, I don't think they're going to be effective enough for you. You're going to need something like to turbo boost this out of you. But I'd say that whatever treatment they want to do with you, to me, it looks like it's short. So it's not a, several months treatment. I think whatever they can do it in a shorter span of time. So it's not as invasive as you might think it's going to be. One of the things I would also like you to consider is to cut down on sugar. There's all sorts of places that sugar comes from. So it's very difficult to eradicate sugar out of one's diet at all. I mean, altogether. But to me, it's like whatever is hitchhiking inside you thrives on sugar. So if you can somehow decrease the amount of sugar that you are intaking, this will also help things a lot more because it won't be, as healthy, I guess we could say. It sounds so sad to say that we don't want it to be healthy, but you know what I mean? Like, I won't starve it and it won't do you damage to decrease your sugar, but it will make it weaker, which is good because if it's in a weakened state, it's easier to get rid of, right? I also think that, to me, it looks like sometimes you've been getting a bit dizzy, not dizzy like stand up, I'm going to fall down dizzy, but like, sitting down and
while I have to go to sleep right then and there while I'm trying to stay awake.
Yeah. Well, look, that's the music coming in. Can you just hold on and we'll catch this up once the ads are over?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Welcome back, everyone, to Adventures into Reality with myself, Kathy Ma, and the amazing Andrew Bartzis, Galactic Historian. Okay, so we're back to our call now. We were talking about sometimes you feel a bit heady. And one of the things that I am seeing about this is it's almost like you have an imbalance, in your brain, in your head. I don't want to say it's just a chemical imbalance. It's like an imbalance. Like energetically speaking, it's an imbalance. But to me, it's like things are not really lined up in an optimum way, shall we say. And one of the things I would really like you to consider is maybe getting a few craniosacral sessions.
I received 3 from a 5-star Upledger, and it was I think I did this before I went overseas on the trip where I got sick. I did 3, and I did 3 colonics.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I did the last 2 craniosacral therapy sessions a little too close together. But I know I need to go back again. Even right now as I speak, my posture isn't even as it should.
I think you'll find that there was a pre-existing condition, which is probably what the CST person was addressing. But with this parasite thing as well, it also affects all sorts of levels, dopamine levels, etc. in your brain. There's just no accounting for the side effects of this having a burden like this inside you. So I would definitely.
I'm sure my parasympathetic is having fun with that.
I'm sure.
A rodent inside your central nervous system is the best way to describe it.
All right.
Yeah. So you really, if you can get some work with that, I think you will find that, like, if we have to ballpark it right now, and let's assume that you can go and get some treatment for this thing as well. If you were to do this, or let's say you start getting your treatment tomorrow in an ideal scenario, and you can go through the course, and you had some cranial treatments, and let's assume it's like 1 a week or something for now, then I would imagine that after about 2 months, this heady thing that you feel should dissipate to almost hardly existing. So that's the kind of time frame you would be looking at if we were working in those kind of conditions.
Okay.
So whatever, that fits in with your schedule, you can kind of at least, it's always helpful to know a time frame so that you can apply it to your everyday life. And, if you, sometimes when you're going through it, you're like, oh, will this ever end? So at least that way.
It's my fault. It's my fault for not looking into it. I just, it's on me. I'm not, it's kind of at the end of the day what I did to myself, and I recognize that, you can like Andrew says, you can rationalize anything of why I didn't decide to do it, and this honestly leads to another. Oh, okay.
Well, let's just address that for a minute. When you said it's your fault, I think that's really an unfair statement to give yourself. That's a lot of pressure. I mean, sometimes when you're not aware of what's going on, you don't take action, and by the time something's happened, you not always have action to be taken available to you. So at least you are addressing it now. We're looking at it now, and you will take action. So, I just don't like that kind of wording, because I think your body takes it on, and I think it's unfair to your body for you to say.
It's like the Rubik's Cube. It's like the Rubik's Cube.
But also, it's your mindset. I want you to realize that, sure, that there are some things you could have done, but considering, everything that's gone on, you did a pretty good job, right?
Yeah. I feel great now as I'm talking to you. I feel awesome, actually.
Okay, well,
that's
yeah. It's the
but I
healing
sense what you're feeling.
Of voice.
Yeah.
That's what
exactly.
Another thing I want to ask you is, when you were over there, would you say that you saw some bad stuff?
Horrible stuff. I saw my little cousins go to a military camp out of their free will. I wanted to. It brought out a zealot side of me that I don't even want to get into.
Well, I'm asking you because I think this is part of what you've taken on board. I mean, I'm not going to say that you're in denial of it, because you do recognize it, but you have to process that. And if you don't process it,
I just came back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just came back from the embassy, and I may have to go back again because my grandpa is in critical condition. So everybody, if you can send a healing treatment to that region of the world, he really needs it.
What is your grandfather's name?
Kasai Tekle.
And he's in Ethiopia.
In Eritrea.
Oh, sorry, in Eritrea.
It's right. Yeah, it's right. He's in the capital city, Asmara, of that country, and it's pretty interesting. I'd like to hear the Akashic record on that city. It used to be an Italian colony. I feel like the history around that would be a pretty awesome read. Let's
go back to some of this bad stuff. I don't want to hop on about it, but I want us to help you get through it a bit, because the more we can reconcile this for you, the more your soul can be free of it to a degree in terms of the emotion. So I know it's a lot of this will be a bit hard to talk about, but do you mind telling us a little bit?
No, I don't mind. So I saw there's a military camp there called Sawa, which is where everyone after 12th grade has to go and learn how to shoot. It's basically so that the U.S. and all these governments don't come in there, and that they have some form of military force, which is I don't know, something that I've always felt like I wanted to, so that there wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like there wouldn't be domination and control, but it's like they had to. The only way to exist outside of domination and control is to be in domination and control again. And it just, for me, it was just kind of frustrating. And it just recognized, and then really the ultimate lesson what really calms me down, is just the fact that if one person suffers, everyone suffers. You can't just have like your own little island of like a technically free dominion. And so it was just kind of a frustrating thing where I kind of recognized that I had to come back here, and I had to work on my website and work on everything that I was doing online with the resources that I had, and but it was frustrating just seeing. I saw people basically with nothing, everywhere, and like jealousy on the highest levels,
So
Sage,
it's the poverty,
incense, crystals, all that stuff. I brought my whole. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm saying so. It's the deep despair of the poverty and the
Yes.
wanting a better life that you can see in people's eyes. That desperation.
They know you're from. They know where you're from. As soon as they don't need to even.
They see the light in
anything.
they see the light in your eyes and the food in your stomach, and they're jealous of your ability to live.
It's a very hard place to be.
And it's affecting your soul more than you are even letting on to yourself.
It's very hard, very, very hard to be the one that walks down a street when you have that many eyes looking at you and you know why they are. Because it's very difficult to tell yourself not to feel guilty because you didn't do this to people. But you see it in their eyes, the judgment, the want. And, it breaks your heart and your soul cries. It really does. And it's something that you can't just, okay, I saw that and now we're gone and I'm going to think about it every now and then. No, you carry that in yourself. You carry it in your heart. You carry it in your soul. And it takes a while for you to understand or recognize that this is an existing situation, but it's not on you, The guilt that you will feel and even may not recognize that it is guilt. It's not for you, It's not for you to carry that. It's not for you to have that burden. It's not for your soul to keep crying continuously because you didn't do it.
Yeah, it's like every time I step out again, it's like I try to forget about it after it happens each time, and now that you bring this up, yeah, it's something that I have to confront head on, and not,
It's
and
not
actually,
a confrontation. It's not a confrontation. It's a forgiving. And I mean a forgiving. Eternal forgiveness. Your soul has seen this 10,000 times in 10,000 different eras. Absolute despot poverty, surrounded by military. Okay? It's forgiveness for you now. You got to forgive the world. Can you do that? With all the crap that you've seen, can you forgive the world? I did. That's why I can do what I do. I have forgiven every transgression, past, present, and future. It isn't easy. No matter what you think, it isn't easy. But you're at a point where you can take forgiveness to a whole new level for yourself. I see the activist soul in you. And I'm going to tell you now, you will be a zealot activist if you don't heal this. And you will do your soul a great disservice by being a zealot activist.
So I shouldn't even think about going back over there,
Absolutely.
even despite what's going on with my...
Absolutely not. It will be more torture, more pain, and more ghosts.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I was just at the embassy just now before I called, and I was just, you guys really came at the right time because that choice point was pretty huge.
Uh-huh.
And, my mom is just pulling on my energy, and she's, and I feel like, okay, maybe if I go there in full force, maybe I can create change.
If you go there in full force with the light, the demons will descend on you. The demons of shame, blame, and guilt in yourself. You will be disempowered and you will come back spiritually disemboweled. You are not prepared for the ancestral energies there. You can do more healing from where you are right now than you are be able to be next to their side.
So I just have to forgive.
So for many, many years, I counseled people that were going through life-altering, life-ending medical scenarios. And many of them told me their stories. And I'm crying at this one. A lady named Donna. She was an activist in Egypt, in Ethiopia, and Somalia, aid worker. Give me a second here. And on her deathbed, on her deathbed, she confided into me how corrupt the aid organizations were. and how much it saddened her soul that all the work she had done was sullied by that. And I remember telling her, only with hindsight do you see that. But the person that was there was in full love and doing what they could do best. And within a few hours, she passed on. I'm sorry. A few hours, she passed on. But those few words helped her understand what her real mission was, were the individual people she was helping. And I hope that that story helps you growing into your future. The level of corruption that's in the aid industry, no one should be giving any money to it at all. Okay? You want to make real difference? Send them seeds so they can grow their own food. Send them books, how they can raise food in fish tanks.
I was thinking about having a huge organite. They're going through a drought, and I was thinking about using organite to maybe in different geometric shapes.
It's beyond it's beyond you right now. You're battling esoteric organizations who have imprinted that land for 5,000 years.
Shit.
Yeah, shit. Okay, I'm gonna be brutally honest here. Brutally honest. We live in a world that's set in a frequency, and until we in our own minds can gather the power to make thought constructs that we can share with others that cannot be charged for, where we can freely share knowledge, wisdom, and information without exchanging negative karma, we are going to be stuck in this process. And I mean stuck. Until the people stand into their own power, their own sovereign conviction, let go of shame, blame, and guilt, self-heal and self-nurture, and all those other things that I've been talking about. One of the things that led me up into being a public speaker was the years of experience I had with people going through their end life process, and also the beginning life process, working with women that were pregnant and husbands that were trying to get their wives pregnant. So I've seen it from both ends. And when you want a life path that truly gives you that source connectedness back, being an activist, it will not repay you. It won't. Not in this world right now. Not until there's another way to do it. Being a spiritual activist, for those that want to be grid workers and are going out and doing all of their great work, you're but a spit in the bucket compared to the last 10,000 years of esoteric processes. You need to stop playing in their field and create your very own thought construct that doesn't interact with the rest of history and the rest of technology and the rest of spirituality. Until people truly see that, we will be in this ever-evolving process of healing thyself, knowing thyself, so that we can stand into the power of the self.
Spit in the bucket.
Spit in the bucket.
Yeah.
I know that from the highest density levels that I've reached. I've spoken through time streams to 25 million other beings. I've watched an entire species be murdered through the Akashic Record. Let me tell you something. I've seen my share of stuff. And every time the lesson always comes back to the same. Why those people failed in that time. They didn't self-heal. They didn't self-nurture. They didn't let go of shame, blame, and guilt at the density levels they were at. History in our past has created spiritual zealots, which is why we are at here now. There aren't enough authentic spiritual people who are not gurus or zealots operating in the functional reality.
So how do we further?
One of my hardest things of coming on and being public was not wanting to be a guru, but ultimately knowing inside it was going to happen anyways. No matter how much I denied it, people would give away their power because they don't actually want to do the work. And I learned that 13, 14, 15, 16, all the way up into my 20s, until I realized there's nothing we can do to change people in any way, shape, or form. They ultimately have to do it on their own. But what we as healers can do is facilitate the removal of layers that stop perception or create paranoias, or worse, create self-defeating attitudes that ultimately wreck our lives. History is wrought with that. The Akashic record history, our common history. So how do we do it? We got to go do the hard work, the inner healing work. And at times, everyone thinks it's an alone journey. No, we have companions on that journey that help us remove the shame, the blame, the guilt, or anything else that comes through that. And right now, I don't even think you realize how much shame, blame, and guilt your other self that's still over there is projecting back at you, the person that came home, forcing you in a set of ancestral actions that's going to lead you down a path of repetition of the old contracts that were never succeeded.
Yeah, that's
you can clear the board right now, flip the game over and say, I'm not playing this game. Break all contracts, vows, and agreement. Take back all your power. But then all the little thought creations you've had between the time you were over there and the time that you got back would have to fall apart. All those little hopes and dreams you created. No, they just go into memories. And the ones that truly survive are the ones that have inspiration to go from a future to a present, or from the past to the present. The past will always be a teacher. The present will always be our creation. And the future will always be our inspiration, until we get lost in the future, where inspiration has become toxic hope. And that's where you're at right now. You're on that verge of having inspiration turning into hope to turn into toxic hope.
Yeah.
You cannot see yourself as a one-man political activist. You will fall. You will fall before you even get to the top. I want to bring Kathy.
Create a team.
I know. I want to bring Kathy in here, and I want to help bring a woman's perspective on caring, nurturing. I know what you're trying to be is caring and nurturing with these people, but there's more here, and a woman can give it in a different way.
Yes, definitely there is a lot of healing of your, let's call it your mind, your soul, that needs to go on. What you have witnessed firsthand doesn't just go away. And part of that journey is in the recognition of, it's just that, I guess to put it in a clear way, it's to recognize it, to see it for what it is, and to know it. It doesn't mean you have to take it on board. All of us are not champions for the world, but the fact that you know about it is another person witnessing it, and that is very powerful in itself. To take some action for yourself now, or I guess that's not a good way to put it, the kind of action that you're talking about, that you're thinking of, to me, I agree with Andrew that it seems fraught with all sorts of problems, because you cannot change the system as one person. Whatever you take with you that you think is going to help is just in the big picture, is a minuscule bit. I'm not discounting that there will be some change, some help, but it's
not me. It's over. Like how you said, it's beyond.
Yeah, like you don't want to think that you tried something and it didn't work, because you sort of, that way you set your mind up for failure in that sense. It's the recognition of what's going on is really all it takes. If the whole world could recognize it, that would make the difference, and for you, one of the things that you need to sort of think about over the next few months is, how can you acknowledge it to yourself, to your mind, to your soul, and recognize it and not take it on board, because it's not yours to take on board. What you've seen is heartbreaking. It's not. It's that would be like saying every single war in this world, each of us has to take on board. But it's not. It's not our job. It's not our responsibility as one person. It's not our goal, our soul's goal, to recognize what's going on. If you really think you need to affect change, then you have to think about how is it that you will change people's understanding of it in the world, not in the country. The country already understands it. If you want...
And me asking...
Sorry, go on.
Me asking, it's not... sorry I cut you off. Me asking it's not comes from, I basically grew up around my mom when the war broke out between Eritrea and Ethiopia, and she opened an Eritrean restaurant, which was a country that's just as new as the year when I was born, actually, 91. And I think like the reason why I even asked it's not is because there's just some separation that I need to do from the programs that have been imprinted subtly into my subconscious from those days. Yeah.
Let me put it to you in a different way, so maybe you can view it in a different way. Look at what happened during the World Wars. Do you think that it's right that everyone who was German should bear that burden of what happened? I mean, it wasn't them. They're generations down. They didn't do anything, yet they still have to wear and bear a lot of the guilt because that's what the world is telling them. But it's not right. They're just born in the wrong place, the wrong time in terms of that type of thing, right? You can't expect, because you are of the same race, the same culture, that everything therefore is all on you and it's up to you to fix. No. Bad things happen to good people, and it doesn't matter what country it is, what race you are, what culture you are. There is a lot more going on and at play than meets the eye. And when you can see that bigger global thing going on, and then, especially if you were to look at other countries, it might be easier for you to understand that, yes, being indignant, being angry, sure. I'm not saying that's not right, because who isn't? But taking it on board and, carrying it with you every day isn't going to help anyone. Not you, not them, not the world. If you really feel that much indignation and you need to do something, then you have to think about it more globally. What can you do to affect change of people's thinking, right? Because that's where you can affect change. That is something that you can think about. That is something that is helpful to another country, another people. That's the break, so if you just hold on, we'll come back to you after this break. Thank you. So we were just talking about recognizing things that are going on in the world and not taking them on board as your own responsibility. And one of the big things that you need to do is really recognize it for what it is. And often you'll find that in the pure recognition of it, you can really start to have that resonate within yourself. And if you truly believe that you need to do something about it, then you really need to start thinking about raising social awareness on a global level. Because to try and just target one particular place and take that on board and make change as one person, it is going to be almost impossible. I'm not saying impossible, but a very hard and miserable journey in many ways. It is very difficult to be able to separate yourself from something that you've seen that can be so devastating. But it's okay to be indignant. It's okay to be appalled. It's okay to be angry. But to take that on board as something that you need to go there and fix or help in many ways does not do your own body or soul justice. Does that resonate for you?
Oh, yeah. I was just, I will laugh at myself. And last night I came back home after I went out, and I just, I recognize that, I must be wrong in some area. And sometimes that's the quickest way to, just center and ground, just recognize that I was wrong. That was the way,
I think it's very difficult to separate emotion from logic sometimes. And because you've just been there, it's all very emotional for you. So being able to step back and see it from a more, I guess, outside perspective will really help you ground and help you resonate within yourself as to what you really think that you can do, as opposed to what you really want to do. Because we all have our own restraints, right? I mean, if only we were all Superman and could change things. But you have to be realistic.
Beginning, middle, and an end.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for calling. It's been wonderful to talk to you. It really has. And I'm sure your story has touched so many people's hearts. So thank you. You're already starting with the social awareness. Unbeknownst to you. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Right.
All
All
right.
right.
Good one. So
Yes.
during the break, I was just sitting here in contemplation. I hadn't thought of Donna in years, many years. And as I was on the break, just listening to the music there, that was just a stream of tears came over me. And one of her messages to everyone that's listening, if anyone that's an aid worker or goes to other places to build schools and all that, here's her message to you. None of you came in to do that. You came in to be healers. Know the difference between being a builder, a food distributor, and a healer. Healers know how to do all because they can empathically feel what is needed in the area. And what he was going through, the gentleman that was just on, was the empathy of wanting to be a healer. So go be a healer. Learn all you can learn about healing. And that's how you can change this world. One healing at a time.
That's it. One healing at a time. Powerful. Powerful words, yet so true.
Yep.
Thank you, Donna.
And we're going to remind people here, now, today, not yesterday, and not in the future, you have opportunities to make choice. We're not talking about material choice, esoteric choice, or any other practice of choice other than the individuated self coming to what is my life obstacle, what is my life challenge, and how do you overcome that? So many people don't know their life purpose. So one of my suggestions to you is to live each day the mystical life as part of your purpose so that you can position yourself in your greatest advancement. Learning how to position yourself is a form of spiritual strategy. So many people see the hierarchical order and they want to be out of it and they won't create a spiritual strategy, for there is some form of shame, blame, or guilt with them, that they would use spirit in such a way, when in fact, spirit is waiting for us to engage our genius so we can create unlimited opportunities for us to have the promise of the self followed through in such a way that living the mystical life daily means something deep to you. In some of the previous videos, we talked about living the mystical life daily as a life path. We used the advanced heart meditation, where we helped you put programs into your blood that allowed mystical experience, connection to your guides and guardians. And then we went deeper into the actual marrow that produces your blood every 56 days and brought in more deep inside your core. We talked about the shaman's death, letting go of the old, so ultimately the next set of choices can come into being and you can create a new future for yourself without hope turning toxic. What are the challenges that everyone faces out there? The first one is manifesting your will. The whole process of spirit, choice point making, soul family, twin flames, all that stuff is to manifest your will so you can touch it, feel it, and know that it's future now, real, heart-based with your interaction in it. The manifesting of will is one of those teachings that's been around since the dawn of spiritual progression. That manifestation of will that says, I will do this, and you follow through with your sacred discipline, your sacred heart space, and your ability to have that creation in your own process. So many people have programs of self-defeat that stop them from manifesting their will, such as shame, blame, guilt, and other processes that take even more of the greater aspect away from yourself. The whole process of manifesting your will is to see the programs of self-defeat and to say to them, no, you have no space for me. You have no action for me. I deny you self-defeat in any way, shape, or form from being in this moment of sacred will that I've chosen. Process that. Contemplate that. When you see your next set of challenges facing your own spiritual choices, what programs within you are of self-defeat, self-limitation, and say to your will, I will outcreate these, and I will uncreate those that take away. The next thing is the alchemy of creation. What does it actually take to go beyond the will, to use the strategy, to create alchemy of transmutation and transcendence for the self? That is the other spiritual practice that has been around since the dawn of spiritual exploration. Manifestation. Actual, tangible processes that say, what is my will is now my way of life, and what is my way of life is my form of creation. Process that again. The alchemy of creation is the will of manifestation, so that the manifestation is your creation. There's a variety of ways to put that pattern together of manifesting your will, to stop self-defeating programs, or to outcreate those programs with the will of the self. Alchemy comes in the form of fire. Alchemy comes in the form of meditation. Alchemy comes in the form of walking in the park to transmute energy, to transform an old way of being. The transformation process are those that have gotten to the tactics, to the strategy of application of the self. The transmutation is the next level, where you can use your will of alchemy creation. And you can go into that transformative moment and use techniques like you learned in the advanced heart meditation, the fetus in your womb, or the fetus in your mother's womb, if you want to go for extra credit. In the process of learning in the fetus of the womb, it starts you as just a handful of cells. Before you had arms, legs, before you had even a mind, you were just a heart. And that very heart that is in creation is the same heart that's here today. It has just grown and grown and grown and grown until it was a fetus. And that fetus went through its infinite to finite creation process. Its fetus alchemy of creation. It manifested its will. It came out of the womb. Its umbilical cord was cut, and it had a mother and father, and spiritual contracts that made it an agenda-based being, and it was no longer a non-agenda being, for it had been born through the alchemy of creation, through the mother and the father and an insemination process. And that fetus to infant grew into the being that you are today. And that is something each and every one in this person in this world and many other worlds share, the birthing process of being the fetus in the womb. And we will learn as history comes to accept the greater outside world beyond this planet, that there are millions of schools of thought and religions around being the fetus in your womb, the fetus in your heart, or the fetus in your mother's womb, or the fetus in a future womb. The fetus in the womb features the ability to understand the 7 previous generations of who you were, and then those 7 future generations. Why 7? It is the lineage of man that is in residual race memory. About every 220 to 270 years, The residual race memory that's in the lineage is forgotten, for there is no oral teachers or historians that can reach beyond the 7 generations. You go to Australia and you look at some of the song lines that are there, they go back 50,000 years. That's thousands of generations. The indigenous cultures throughout the world had a variety of ways to pass the 7-generation mark. Those oral teachers and historians did rituals, ceremonies, and told stories that were a direct representation of what their ancestors experienced, so it would be passed on to the future generation, so they too could go to that longer process. What was in my ancient past? For they did not have race amnesia as we do today. In the fetus in the mother's womb, we also learn that we will one day pass this life on and be the next fetus in another womb and possibly in another world. We also learn that we are simultaneously living past, present, and future while we are the fetus in the womb. Taking the next level of your alchemy of creation and the manifesting of your will and the letting go of your self-defeating programs, you can experience past, present, future, if you should choose to make those moments sacred with the higher form of your sacred discipline.
Each different bubble of reality is true. A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail.
Improvise. Mysterious. It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.